Hey guys, Melvin here. Welcome to the attic. We're going to be reading a story from the D&DGreentext subreddit. This one was posted by user Cash-25. It's about a large-scale game of only war, a Warhammer 40,000 RPG, where players take on the role of Imperial Guard, those who make up the forces of mankind against the overwhelming horrors of the galaxy. It's a particularly perilous setting, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. By the way, if you haven't already, please take a second to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload new videos. Without further ado, let's check it out. Be me, experienced player, newly joining an only war PvP. Game's been running for a while from what I can gather. Think I responded to an advert on Reddit or something. Can't remember at the moment. Seems like a pretty normal affair. Mixed regiment comprised of battered remains of other regiments. Making own regiment is encouraged by GM. The 15th Trascal Repentant Infantry is born. Penal Legion raised from volunteers from a supermax security prison Moon and their former warden officers. Am disappointed when no one gets the obvious reference to Alcatraz. Game is pretty big, 20-ish players, most of whom are alternating between 2 or 3 characters in a drop-in, drop-out format. Pretty much every role already covered at all times. Roll up 6, mafioso and gang boss turned sergeant. Invest in all the social skills. 6 speaks in an outrageous and probably offensive Jersey accent that nobody can figure out if it's real or fake, in or out of character. 6 and the Repentant quickly ingrain themselves with the rest of the regiment. Minor tensions with the 3 other groups of Penal Legionnaires. 6 hosts an illegal gambling tournament, but the only person who attends is a biomancer Psyker. Psyker is pretty cool. Starts hanging out with the Repentant a lot. Regiment is deployed to the feudal world of Sisk to deal with a gene-stealer Tyrnid infestation. Apparently things got pretty gnarly in a previous session, and a fair few guardsmen got ganked by a lictor. A relatively uneventful but fun session of purging a cave system of some stealers ensues. 6 makes friends with pretty much everyone by being both friendly and competent. 6 is briefly infected with a gene-stealer parasite, but saved by the Psyker. Next session begins with one PC getting kidnapped, and everyone else getting an invitation from some local bigwig. Local bigwig brings us all, willingly or otherwise, to his mansion. Bigwig with the stupid name I can't remember right now serves everyone a cup of tea, as in raw tea leaves. When questioned on this, he states that he doesn't like adding water because it dilutes the taste, and proceeds to sip several leaves into his mouth and start chewing on them. 6 picks up on what's going on immediately and starts negotiating for the release of our kidnapped comrade, but everyone else is slower on the draw. Bigwig tells us that several crates of imported weapons, most importantly several multi-lasers, and a large supply of tea is stored at a local fortress, which recently fell to mutants. Bigwig wants the tea retrieved and also the weapons, but mostly the tea. Offers us our pick of the weaponry and our kidnapped comrade in exchange, and promises to host a feast in our honor if we succeed. The Commissar, a rather adorable DMPC named Matilda, decides it's better to have the nutjob on our side than against us, and it sounds like something that needs doing anyway, and agrees. 6 approves and starts sucking up to the Commissar. Squad heads off into the swamp on our way to the fortress. It's a pretty miserable affair that ends in several pretty miserable navigate surface checks. Squad gets sidetracked by a random cottage in the swamp. Bandits start shooting at us from inside the cottage. Squad scatters for cover and spreads out as melee bandits charge. Commissar, being the only melee character, countercharges and starts taking the goons apart while the rest of us take pot shots. Some dumbass manages to set the Commissar on fire with Dragon's Breath rounds. 6 helps put her out to score brownie points. While this is going on, somebody else torches the cottage with their flamer to flush out the ranged bandits. Hostages inside the cottage start screaming as it burns down around them. 6 puts out the Commissar. Idiot with the flamer caps himself rather than face the Commissar. Somebody else saves the hostages from horrible and imminent doom. Friendly fire counter 1. PC death counter, 1. We haven't even reached our objective. Out of characters start to suspect the rest of the players are idiots. After wrapping up that misadventure and getting some intel from the hostages, we press on to our actual objective, Fort Dick Joke. Can't remember what the GM actually called it, but that was the joke. Fort consists of 2 towers and a bridge on one side of chasm, with a keep on the far side. Towers and bridge look like male genitalia. Fort Dick Joke. Squad moves forward and takes the towers after a brief skirmish with the mutants that we quickly recognize as Warhammer Fantasy Skaven. Main enemy force inside the keep seems to have not noticed. A plan is hatched to set up a prepared position on the towers and bridge and bait the rats into attacking us. 6 and a Harakani Warhawk, whose name I can't remember, volunteer to be the bait. Rest of the squad produces a couple of crack grenades for us to destroy the keep's gate with. Me and the Harakani walk towards the keep. No response from the enemy. We reach the gate. Still nothing. We pop the pins on the cracks and blow the wooden gate to splinters. This gets their attention and we start hearing a lot of chattering. Leg it back towards the bridge as fast as we can. Ag 40 and sprint means 6 can run pretty fast. Swarm of Skaven races out of the keep, hot on our heels. Rat with a warp lock, Jazael, starts sniping at us as we run, kills my comrade Vic before I can drop a smoke grenade to cover our asses. Reach bridge with rats practically on top of us. Squad starts throwing some covering fire our way, but we're too far away for any of them to reliably hit anything. Skaven get into melee with us. Neither of us are melee builds. 6 draws his knife and tries to defend himself and run at the same time. Harakani and his comrade activate their grab shoots and jump off the side of the bridge. Motherfucker left me to die. Crit fails his operate aeronautics test and plummets to his death in the chasm below to boot. 6 is now hopelessly outnumbered, completely outclassed, surrounded and outside the effective range of his supporting fire. GM. So Cash, you know that scene in Saving Private Ryan where the German guy slowly stabs the GI? Imagine that, but with 20 Skaven. Rest of the squad watches this debacle in absolute horror. I start rolling up a replacement character while the fight continues. The Skaven close into range of the squad and start taking losses, but manage to get on top of them. Commissar again goes full melee badass and starts hacking apart the enemy. 8 or so Skaven remain fighting the Commissar, and a few PCs in the right side tower after a few rounds of combat. Some dumbass throws a grenade into the tower full of his allies. This GM uses Chunky Salsa rules. For those not familiar, Chunky Salsa rules are a set of rules borrowed from Shadowrun, which basically boil down to using explosives in confined spaces does more damage. In standard Shadowrun, this is accomplished by a ludicrously overly complicated, even by the standards of Shadowrun, set of calculations based on the size of the room and structural integrity of the walls. In this case, the GM just uses a house rule that triples the damage and radius of explosives in confined spaces. The Commissar digs herself and the 3 survivors, all of whom had to burn fate, out of the rubble. First thing she does is demand to know who threw the grenade. Dumbass is immediately outed and summarily shot. Friendly fire counter, 8-ish. PC death counter, 6. GM says he'll let us bring up our replacement characters before pushing onto the keep itself. Session wraps up with the survivors making camp and treating injuries while ominous and foreshadowy noises rise from the direction of the keep. Rolling up a new character. Due to the size and nature of the game, pretty much every single conceivable role is already covered. Flamer Specialist? Covered. Sniper? Covered. Medic? Covered. Officer? Covered. Decided to just roll up something shallow and pointless to tide me over till they inevitably die, by which point I'll have to come up with something better. Enter Red. Heavily tattooed megabitch of a Penal Legionnaire, with attitude problems and a love of violence. Heavy gunner specced into unarmed combat. Expect her to die by the end of the session. Would be proven very, very wrong. But I get ahead of myself. Red and a couple other replacement characters join the remains of the squad outside the Skaven Keep. Red suffers a minor panic attack upon seeing her boss dead on the battlefield. Be not me, be Cassius, Harakani Warhawk Lieutenant. Try to calm down the panicking Penal Legionnaire by barking orders at her. Get called a flyboy and told to shove off. Next day, the squad pushes forward into the keep. Bell starts tolling. King Rat Ogre charges us, accompanied by numerous chaff. Red starts spraying heavy stubber suppressive fire to no effect. Rat Ogre reaches melee range. Red fucking punches it. Doesn't actually do any damage, but distracts it long enough for others to kill it. Chaff is mopped up shortly thereafter. Bell continues tolling as the squad assaults the inner sanctum. Weird green fog begins to spread. Commissar Matilda orders everyone to don gas masks. Like, 3 of us including her have gas masks as part of our kit. Plague monks charge us. Some dumbass throws a flash grenade. Crit fails and flashes pretty much the entire squad. Squad is subject to multiple rounds of melee combat against king plague monks while blinded. Red somehow survives this. Others are not so lucky. Squad recovers and defeats the plague monks. Red punches one to death. Squad retrieves multi-lasers and tea. Beats feet back to local bigwig. Bigwig rewards us with good craftsmanship multi-las that I don't think the squad ever used. Next mission, get told by High Command to take an entirely different fortress that recently fell to mutants. Squad rolls much higher on navigate, surface checks, and arrives at the destination without much hassle. More f***ing Skaven. Red punches a second Rat Ogre, actually causes a point of damage or 2 this time before it gets shot. Rattling Gunner starts spraying us. Red succeeds her willpower check against pinning and charges the Rattling Gunner, taking a few shots in the process that knock her into crits. Tackle the fucker and start throttling him. Get yelled at by Commissar Matilda to stop playing with it and kill it. Begrudgingly finish off the gunner by bashing its skull into the ground repeatedly. Squad clears out the rest of the keep in short order. Find a group of starved human captives in the dungeon. Despite explicit warning from the GM, somebody gives one of them a guard ration bar. Dude dies instantly due to caloric overload. Matilda shoos everyone else out like a fussy mother before capping the rest. Squad rules it a mercy killing and calls for evac. Squad arrives back at HQ, and most of us get pulled into the medbay for treatment. Senior Medicaid decides to hack off Red's leg due to nerve damage. Being a Penal Legionnaire, Red is not entitled to a replacement limb. Get laid up in the medbay for the duration of the next session. Local bigwig organizes a feast in our honor, with the main event of the night being a bare-knuckle boxing match between the previously kidnapped squad mate and a local champion. The unarmed combat specialist is laid up in the medbay for this. Said squad mate never arrives due to IRL shenanigans. GM calls the event after 3 days and rules the character was too chicken shit to show. Character is thereafter mocked as a coward. Red, meanwhile, is approached by a member of the Penal Legion Medicaid staff. Enter Freaky Fred, the worst doctor in regimental history. Fred offers Red a deal. He'll get her a replacement leg, if he gets to keep the real thing. Red reluctantly agrees to the deal and Fred slaps a poor quality bionic on her. Does things best left unsaid with the real leg. Red resolves to murder him later. Squad gets pushed back into action. Apparently the war effort has taken a turn for the worse and we're urgently needed. Get thrown into a trench line outside the planetary capital and told to hold the line. Fucking Nids come charging over the horizon. Red suppressive fire again proves useless. Nids get into melee range. Mix of Gene Stealers, Hormagaunts, and Tyrnid warriors. Red punches a Gene Stealer and a warrior. Due to superior defensive position and ranged weaponry, plus the efforts of Red, Cassius, and Matilda in melee, the squad beats back several waves of Tyranids. Word comes over the Vox that the situation is foobar due to Skaven attacking the rear lines in conjunction with Nid assaults. Get to the evac point if you can, otherwise your ass is getting left behind. Squad collectively shits bricks before picking up and heading towards the now burning city behind our lines. Squad creeps our way into the city, manages to avoid detection for a little while. Enter Doc Scratch, a Harakani Warhawk who's actually pretty cool. Brews Rotgut and Trank in the vehicle bay, friends with the Penal Legionnaires. Scratch knows a secret smuggling tunnel in the sewers we can use to sneak our way to the evac point. Just have to get to it. Guess how well that goes. Running street battle and 3 friendly fire incidents later, the squad scrambles into the sewers. Red and another guardsman drop frags behind us and collapse the entrance to stop our pursuers. Squad crawls their way through the sewers. Tunnel opens up into a larger chamber. Trap? Trap. Gene Stealer hybrids attack us. Red disarms one and takes his axe, uses it to kill him. Jaime the Biomancer stands up, begins casting some power. Suddenly a freakish monster fills the chamber. Chaos Spawn immediately attacks poor Jaime. GM rolls a lot of dice. GM, you know those boss monster sequence kills from Bloodborne? Yeah, one of those happens to Jaime. There's blood everywhere. Roll willpower or take insanity. Red punches the Chaos Spawn. Then it disappears. Jaime is somehow still alive. Burned fate. So we pick up his particularly less than solid body and carry it with us. Squad reaches the end of the sewers and arrives at the evac point. Brief standoff with the Salvar Chemdogs manning the last barricades ensues before we're allowed past. Most of the Chemdogs die holding the line for the evac shuttles. Most of the rest of us successfully evac off-world. Squad arrives on the ship in orbit just in time to witness a space marine execute the former planetary governor of Sisk for incompetence, minor heresy, and treason. Squad is thoroughly weirded out by this event. Commissar Matilda rips a sword off the governor's corpse. Squad is invited to watch as the space marines exterminatus Sisk from orbit. The nuclear fire consuming the surface really puts the futility of our efforts and the waste of our comrades' lives into perspective. Morale plummets as the Space Marines trot off to their own ship, and the squad is dismissed to await our next assignment. Friendly fire counter, 11. PC death counter, 8. You can practically see the haze of battle and taste the gunmetal in the air in these stories. There's nothing quite like some quality Warhammer role-playing to give you a visceral feel for that universe. I've personally always had a soft spot for the Imperial Guard. In a world of endless bureaucracy, accounting for the myriad of human-populated worlds, and the shadows of the superior space marines looming over them, the Guard feel relatable, doing the best they can in an unpredictable world, and even rising to the occasion, defying expectations with that scrappy human adaptability, but oftentimes they die horribly. Hey, with the Guard, it's pretty much a numbers game. In this video, I covered the first 2 stories of this series by Cash-25. As of now, there are 4 parts, so please look forward to the next video where I'll be reading parts 3 and 4. Alright everyone, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining me here in the attic. And please take care of yourselves out there. This is Melvin, in the attic, signing out.